everyone, it's Ron Jones. I'm back here with Eli Patterson, and we've been talking about the Didge here, and you're going to go into a little more detail about the meditation part of this. In the first video, we talked about the history of it, thousands of years old, and the construction of it, and of course the mindfulness of that. But what about just because you've only been playing since last summer.
Yeah, since July.
What about, tell everyone about what you're getting out of it, just mentally.
So mentally, I'm not sure if everybody realizes what mindfulness really is. A lot of people say, oh, why don't you be mindful about what you're doing? Well, it doesn't necessarily work that way. It's a practice. Mm-hmm. You have to get into the practice of being mindful. And a lot of times, focusing on the breath, focusing on the breathing, focusing on the sensations, like we're sitting out here in the sun, we have the sounds. We have the breeze, actually a pretty nice breeze. We have the nice breeze, which is kind of cool, but then again, we have the warm sun coming through.
Right.
So focusing on those types of sensations, when you're actually playing, you're kind of doing the same thing. Okay, what are my lips doing? When I'm breathing in, how am I breathing out? Are my cheeks actually working? So there's never a process that you actually stop doing one thing. It's just you start focusing on, okay, what am I going to do? Okay, this sound, I need to change it up a little bit. Okay, change the beat. So when you're doing your flow exercises there, your movement exercises, I'm watching you, so I know when to actually make a transition in my sound, what I'm doing too at the same time. Also with the mindfulness about it is stop thinking about other things. You know, naturally, kind of like what I mentioned earlier, naturally your mind thinks. And a lot of times, and some of you watching this video right now, you're probably thinking about something else.
The monkey mind.
The monkey. Yeah. Oh, there you go, the monkey mind. Yeah, you start thinking about something else, and the easiest way to become mindful is bring back your mind to this video now. Or when you're playing, focusing back on the airflow or the didgeridoo or the sound or your movement. So that's what I get out of the mindfulness part of it.
Do you think the Didge kind of commands a mindful presence because the breathing is so central to getting it to work? If you're drifting and you lose your breath.
So
right?
Kind of like on the clip earlier that we made, I started off and it wasn't coming out right.
Right.
Because I wasn't focusing on how I wanted to put my lip on there. I just kind of like tried to jump on there to make a sound.
Yeah.
So it came out kind of brash and harsh until I can get it on there correctly.
Okay.
And then what happens it starts flowing. Once it starts flowing, other things, I mean, just like the earth, everything's changing, everything's moving. Well, I use beeswax on here, so on a warm day, the beeswax actually starts moving around, it starts melting.
That's the mouthpiece. It's actually got beeswax kind of caked on top there, so it molds to its lips properly. Right?
Yeah. And as that molds and my cheeks warm it up, or the sun warms it up, I start having to adjust the didgeridoo.
Okay.
In order to keep it going, and you heard in some of the videos it just wasn't working for me.
Right.
Learning experience there too.
Yeah.
I also learned. So, like you said, I just started playing back in July. Was that 7 months ago?
Yeah.
And I'm still learning.
So I got to say, Eli and I, we've known each other a long time, and interestingly, we met in construction. Yeah. So, and I've watched him kind of develop. He has an interest in the Indian clubs and the mace and different things that I'm really into as well. But then he started getting into hypnosis years ago and a lot of mind-body things, and then he started playing and making these, and I really connected to that because just the art of putting this together, and then the hours of practice that you're doing. It's much like I do with some of the movement tools. I just spend hours and just kind of playing around, trying to figure life out through what I'm doing in the moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that moment is the mindfulness.
Yeah.
And you said something that's real huge. It's called practice.
Right.
And a lot of people don't practice. Now, when we talk about meditation or hypnosis or mindfulness, a lot of people, I hear it all the time. Oh, I can't meditate. Why can't you meditate? Because my mind doesn't stop working. No. Your mind doesn't stop working. It's supposed to work. That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
What you're trying to do in that moment, living in the moment for one, is separate your thought and your emotion. And the way I explain that a lot of times to people that I do talk to that say they can't meditate is, here in Bakersfield, we're known for, or we used to really be known for our Thule fog.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so imagine driving in the Tule fog. I'm using a little bit of hypnosis language on you here. Driving in the Tule fog, and there's a car in front of you. And let's say the car is a white car, okay? And you're following too close to that car.
Right.
And all of a sudden, that car comes to a stop.
Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah.
You hit that.
Yeah.
And that's basically what happens with your emotions and your thoughts. If you're following your thoughts too close with those emotions, that can actually happen. That's why a lot of people make bad decisions.
Right.
When you're in a mindful presence, if you're Sadhguru is one of the gurus that I actually follow. He says that our goal is to always be meditating. People use drugs.
Yeah.
Right. People use drugs to stay meditated, to self-meditate, I call it. But,
yeah. Right.
It doesn't work out that way.
Yeah.
You have to practice meditation. And even if you start 30 seconds at a time, when I started playing this, just a couple seconds at a time.
Yeah.
You know, trying to get. You're gonna have to follow this because you have yours now.
Right. Yeah. I'll be posting some up.
You're gonna have to do it a couple seconds at a time.
Right.
So as you found that note,
right,
that didgeridoo, you're gonna want to be mindful. Now, when are you gonna take your breath? So that's being mindful towards it.
Okay. Well, another thing is nice because I think it is very challenging for somebody just to sit down and just meditate and just, and I've done that in the Zen monastery for a college project once. And it was a very challenging 30 minutes, to do that nonstop. So, but you have a tool and there's something in your hands and it's like when I move and I feel it's very meditative. I'm doing something rather than just sitting and breathing. So I think maybe something like this can be helpful for people that just aren't in this space to sit down and just breathe and meditate. They can meditate with some type of movement. In this case, it's like a musical movement.
Mm-hmm. I use singing bowls, and like I mentioned earlier, I use binaural sounds or put my earphones in. There's a whole lot of different modalities to meditation. Mantras. I use mantras. So you got 109 beads on here, so you count each bead in your own mind, and it keeps track. So one of the things I'll use is, let's say, an easy mantra is, I'm not the body, I'm also not the mind. Go to the next bead, I'm not the body, I'm also not the mind, and go all the way down to get to the guru. And then if you still have time, go backwards. And it takes about 8 minutes to get through that mantra with these beads. So you see a lot of people using these beads as a fashion statement, but it's actually a tool for meditation. And that's what I do with it.
All right.
So there's, like I said, different modalities to meditation.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do it, and might be inclined to go experiment with some musical instruments, maybe even the didgeridoo. All right. Well, thanks for this meditative inquiry.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.